my baby gorillas, and I don't know what was happening there. That was a bit weird as well, as usual. Let me just show you something. I'll answer John's question first of all. A very messianic image from James Mason. I like that, James. That's there's definitely some irony there. Yeah, that was actually taken. The picture, I did a selfie like Nicola Sturgeon. I did a selfie in Parliament. So that is actually taken from the houses, inside the Houses of Parliament, which I'm not sure if you meant to do, but it's rather beautiful. It's a really beautiful picture from obviously behind me. But yeah, it's from the Houses of Parliament. That's why it's messianic. Well, I don't know if it's messianic, but it's certainly made by masons, I would take it. Stone masons. So, what are we talking about today? Well, let me go on to Scottish election. So I'm just getting the various parties who stood at the Scottish election. So we're just going to go through them, and I'm going to give my best oversight for each of the parties and what I would do. But I thought you might want to check out this. So we shall stay sitting on your hearts for the rest of life. We've got 5 children and you get 1 or 2. This is a Muslim talking to somebody in Denmark who's invited them into their country, and they're talking about deliberate population replacement that's done by the globalists again, and in Denmark as well. 10-15 years there will be more Paks, but he says Pakis, than Danes in this country. So he's basically talking about more Muslims than Danes, that it's a deliberate policy of replacement. So they're not grateful that they've been let into the country. They're just trying to basically take over with the help of our political classes, which is what's happening on the border, with 90% of the people who are coming in are illegal immigrants are men. Other Muslim, I got married. I am having 5 kids tomorrow. Go give birth to more children, man. The Danes are 5 million. Soon will be exterminated. Soon you will be exterminated, man. Look at the Swedes. Look at the Norwegians. Look at the Finns, man. We are multiple millions, man. You are a society that fucks animals. That's why you haven't got any children, man. Do you have brothers? Do you have sisters? Repeatedly. Your parents fucked animals. That's why they didn't fuck each other, man. Only 5 million. You'll never be more, man. You will get a sister again. You'll get a sister soon, man. You little whore. Your mum is pregnant again. Fuck your mum, man. You Danish pig. Denmark for the Danes. This isn't Denmark, it's Pakiland, repeatedly. We are far away from Denmark. This is a Paki country, do you understand that? We are taking over your country. This is only for Pakis. This is only for Pakis, do you understand that? We are taking over your country, man. The fuck are you, man? I'll shit on that, you fucking white pig. The fuck are you, man? I'll shit on that, you fucking white pig. When the roles are reversed, the Danes are caught on widespread video saying racial slurs, etc. They face legal issues. According to paragraph 2066b of the Danish criminal law, commonly known as the racist paragraph. So let's have a look at resisting the lies, because if you think this isn't happening in Scotland, then you're very much mistaken. Well, here we go, there it is there.
But you just play that to its logical conclusion. As the country becomes more and more diversified, all these positions would have to be full of BAMEs. So then let's just say, way down the line, is Scotland's 2% white. Would that mean that 98% of the schools might be BAME? Well, it would be by that point anyway. It would go without saying the entirety of the country is BAME. But that's the point, because if you flip that on its head, the majority of the country's white. That's why the teachers are all white. That's why every position of power is fucking held by a white guy and a white woman. You know, but no, that's racist. That's white supremacy. You fuck, you beams. Like that. And let me just preface this well. There is a lot of white kicks in this country.
So what's actually happening is that people are getting radicalised. Like sometimes the guys do a very good Resisting the Lies does great analysis on the Scottish National Party trying to use ethnic cleansing to ethnically cleanse the Scots out of Scotland and out of their job, and use it as diversity or whatever code they use. But also Nicola Sturgeon has brought in critical race theory on the grounds of anti-racism, which isn't anti-racism, it's basically bringing in propaganda.
Basically, they have...
So they're bringing in anti...
I think it's become...
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome indeed to our professional learning event looking at the important issue of diversity within the teaching profession in Scotland. My name is Kevin Brack and I'm a Senior Teaching Fellow in Educational Leadership at the University of Edinburgh's Murray House School of Education and Sport. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our distinguished panel this evening. First of all, Professor Rowena Arshad CBE, who chaired the Teaching in Diverse Scotland Working Group and is...
Who has been prolific in complaining that Scottish schools have too many white teachers, by the way.
Professor Emerita in Multicultural and Anti-Racist Education at the University of Edinburgh's Murray House School of Education and Sport, where she was also head of school from 2013 to 2019. So thank you for joining us, Rowena. We also have Khadija Mohammed, who is a senior lecturer at the University of the West of Scotland and a founding member of the Scottish Association of Minority Ethnic Educators, SAMI, and she also served on the Teaching in Diverse Scotland Working Group. Melina Valdelivre is the lead specialist for Race Equality Education Scotland and the co-founder of the Anti-Racist Educator.
So they're all talking about racism. So they're talking about race if it positively affects you, but if it negatively affects you, then they're anti-racist, but they're racist in the fact that they want to promote their own race over you. But if you were to want to promote your own race, and I'm using race in the way that these anti-racists use race, it's not the human race, and everybody should be treated on an individual basis, but they want to use the collective to be racist and push on a race-based policies. All of these groups are racist. They're race-based. So they're racist, but they're under the guise of being anti-racist, but they are actually just racist if you listen to what they're saying. And this has been pushed by wee Nippy Sturgeon.
And last but not least, we have Sharon Smith.
See there, Melina, as he just mentioned, co-founder of the Anti-Racist Educator, now the spokeswoman for the new and improved variation of that, which is the Building Racial Literacy Programme. Let me just skip it a wee bit.
be enjoying your emerita status in any way that you wished. You've chosen to be with us tonight, so thank you very much indeed for that. So before we begin our discussion, just to set the context, I'm sure lots of folk who are here.
It's bollocks, and the wider community is not on board with it. This is why, for every one of these things that you have to come in and you have to discuss, you also.
So this has been done on top. This hasn't been done with consent of the people here. This has been pushed down by Wee Nippy and the so-called SNP to push a underlying Marxist agenda covered in anti-racism, but it's actually racist.
Caveat it with, and this is how we manage the parents, and this is how we do this, and this is. No.
So they've got to manage the parents, because obviously they're going to get pushback, because this has not been agreed with. We haven't agreed. This is, I don't think, was even in Wee Nippy and the daft SNP, fake SNP's manifesto.
If it was such a noble and worthy cause, and it had any foundation in truth whatsoever, you wouldn't need to do any of these things, because everybody would be on board with it anyway. The very fact that you have to keep on saying, oh, this is what we'll need to do if there's any tension or anything like that, tells me that the majority of people, right, just literally are not on board with it, and you're just biding your time until they can make.
Yeah, no, and this minority has been facilitated by Nippy and the doughballs in the SNP. And it would as well if the Labour get in, and any of the other parties. These are being facilitated by the SNP to push the Marxist agenda, the underlying Marxist agenda, not to educate your children, but to indoctrinate your children in a political ideology. Anti-racism is racist, and it's racist against white people. And it is a deliberate race-based anti-white racism, and this is what they're pushing.
Put in place laws where not accepting this bullshit and pushing against it becomes some kind of,
but they'll say that that's racism, but it's not. What they're pushing is the racism, and that's what we've got to understand. So what they'll try and do is say they're pushing back against it, but what the people that will push back against is this underlying Marxist agenda that's getting pushed by Wee Nippy with a bad haircut and her postmodernist Marxism that she's induced.
Oh, harmful crime. Well, what's harmful? Well, whatever we decide it is. Okay, then, well, is me getting cleaved in the head with a machete a crime? Well, no, that's just cultural, But whatever you do, don't say it's part of their culture, because then that would be a crime. Do you know what I mean? It's just absolutely.
Yeah, so it'll be whatever they choose. It'll be rules for thee, but not for me. And it'll be facilitated by Nicola Sturgeon.
Nonsensical.
Yeah, and on top of that,
and the globalist in general.
I know I let it play a wee bit there. I'll try not to do that again too much. But did you not pick up on as well what she said? She said that racism is mutated and it's now more subtle. I mean, what does that even mean? And on top of that,
see, I would go into the universities and sack them. So, and if I get any feedback from any of the university professor, the head of the university, they'd be out as well. So I would go in and you're out. I would be able to get P45s and be able to sack these individuals, or I would start to put fines on the universities and decrease their money.
On you go, sorry.
I was just going to say,
this is money being spent from the public purse, from all of us, to the universities, who are now indoctrinating people in a specific set of political beliefs, which is not what the universities are meant to be set up to do.
But in the comments there, that racism must have had a dose of Ouchie Fauci's secret sauce then, if it's mutated. You know what I mean? You literally couldn't make it up, and they talk about, oh yes, well, there's the overt rape.
But I don't know about the 90 odd people have died by Muslims in the UK, or the mass rapes by Muslims. I don't know if that's going to come under racism, of course, or bigotry, or racism and bigotry, but of course it's not, because it's the second-class citizenship of the indigenous population that Nicola Sturgeon is actually trying to push forward with her Scottish National Party.
Racism that, that everybody knows about, and we all know how to deal with that. Yeah, basically shot them to the coppers because you're a set of evil demons, and it only works one way around, because basically you can say whatever you want about us, and you won't get touched or harmed or anything like that. Whereas if the reverse is true, even if it's a quip spoken in jest or an off-colour comment.
Yeah, well, and I mean that's going to happen anyway. Great picture, Davey. Thanks very much, Miriam. I think you look like a composer, Mozart quality. Yeah, that's great, mate. That's great, pal. Thanks, Marion. Oi, fuck the soft Merkel's. No, in my tune, SNP not for me. Yeah, well, it's not that you can just chop and change. If you vote for any of the large five parties just now, you're going to get some version of this. This is not from one party. This is from all of the parties. So let's let's see. I'll just before I go into it, it's worse than Edinburgh. I thought this is half the seat. So this is Jews being attacked. So this is something weird. I mean, see the thing about Drag Story Hour, we've had pantomime dames and Dame Edra Everidge and Kenny Everett, and we've had all sorts of guys dressed up in women's clothes for years, and it was done at a sort of television distance. Lily Savage, there was great stuff that was going on with guys dressed as dames, but it wasn't on this interacting level. Does this make us more tolerant? Well, I was quite tolerant of guys dressed up in women's clothes. If I get drunk enough, I probably did it myself. But yeah, I mean, it's just
it will become totally dependent.
This is prophetic
on Russian energy if it does not immediately change course.
Look at them smugly laughing. Not laughing now, are we, gents, ladies? Klaus Schwab's mob.
Here in the Western Hemisphere, we are committed to maintaining our independence from the encroachment of expansionist foreign powers.
So, asylum seeker Yozan Telerum has been found guilty of sexual assault. He was escorted a lady home at 2:20 a.m. After giving him a thank you hug. He grabbed her by the throat, pulled her in a headlock, and then sexually assaulted her. He got jailed for 8 months, and he may be deported. Jesus. Oh. These are all the people who were involved in the Muslim rape gangs that were covered up by the Labour Party and the Conservatives and the SNP and Labour and Liberals. So the petition has only been signed by 2,174 signatures in 5 days. Does this mean what I think? Stephen from the House of Commons has now published the petition. The government needs to bring back the death penalty by lethal injection for convicted rape, sexual abusers or murderers. I'm not in favour of that because you can get it wrong. The courts can definitely get it wrong, and I think if one of these guys wasn't guilty of this, then there's something else that has to happen as well. They have to be found guilty and maybe compensated. If they're being falsely accused of something, they should do polygraph tests. Although it's intrinsic to the religion if you've got a rapist for a profit. So Antifa, the terrorist group, are now armed and out on the streets armed.
All right. Yep.
So there's Antifa with guns. So an armed terrorist organisation.
Oh, whoa! Right there, I got him. Well, thank you for not shooting anyone. I appreciate it.
that is happening right now is all because of these people right here.
I don't give a f. We're just doing our job. Get the f out of here.
You can report. It's fine.
Wow.
A true pandemic. And I'm hoping that now that this is over, people are going to, recognize that some serious errors were made and not repeat those. That's the best you can get out of it.
So what do you tell those people?
Vote Republican.
And Joe's on the left. Joe's a Bernie supporter. He'll be getting Trump in for an interview next.
That's what a lot of them are going to do anyway.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, more than 1 million people transferred over to the Republican Party, I think in 2021 alone. Find out what that number is. But, you look at guys like Ron DeSantis, who kept Florida open and had some pretty reasonable policies in terms of, like, what to do about COVID. And, he mapped it out on television. He was, widely criticized for this, where he was saying, like, we need to protect our elders. We need to, make sure that medical care is available for those people. And everyone else, you should be able to do whatever you want to do and protect your freedom. No one who is alive.
So, as I said, so David Curtin on Unity News Network on DLive.tv. So, let's go into this. So, obviously, I wouldn't be supporting any globalist party. So, any party that's following the globalist agenda, the 2030 agenda, which really rules out the top 6 at least. Rules out the top 6. So, I wouldn't be voting for any one of the top 6. Obviously, the fake Scottish National Party is bringing in critical race theory and neo-communism into indoctrinate your school, indoctrinate your children into a specific way of thinking, which is completely disgusting. And you shouldn't be voting for them. They've locked you in your house. They've destroyed the Scottish economy. The fuel prices are going sky high. Nicola Sturgeon doesn't have a clue. She's been the worst First Minister. Would the ref be any better? I don't think so either. He would probably be better than sort of Sarwar, but only marginally. I don't think there's much between the Conservatives and the Labour Party anyway. Both are globalist parties. Liz Truss is going to be a disaster. So is the lawyer. He's Sir Keir. He's another disaster. So is Sarwar. I mean, there's obviously major question marks about Sarwar having imported heroin. His family having allegations of importing heroin. They're coming out the greater Indian diaspora in Scotland that are coming to light just now. Where did Sarwar, not Sarwar that's in Parliament just now, but Sarwar, either father or grandfather, who got the money for the cash and carry, because Sarwar's on the record for saying that his family came to Scotland 3 generations ago and built a cash and carry. But where did they get the money? And if the money did come from heroin, importing heroin, his brother did sell coke. These are all. I don't know anything about the Sarwars. The only thing I knew, they had the cash and carry, and I knew that his father was an MSP as well. But if they've actually got the money from importation of heroin and killing Scottish people, and that's where they got the money for the cash and carry, I think that has to be looked at. Where did the money come from, the cash and carry? Not from Sarwar Jr. that's in politics now, but the father and the grandfather. So that's a major question marks there under the Labour Party. The Greens, I mean, I don't know if I can get this up. So this is So obviously they're treating them like idiots anyway. So toxic Patrick Harvey and Laura Slater humiliated as SNP snubbed them from all but 2 cabinet meetings. The Scottish Greens are supposed to be government partners, but they have not left off. Sorry, they have been left off the invite list for 41 cabinet meetings in the past year. So they're obviously not persona non grata. Patrick Harvey and Laura Slater have been snubbed by the SNP, who only invite them to 2 of Nicola Sturgeon's 43 cabinet meetings during the first 12 months of their coalition government. The Scottish Green ministers are considered part of the government due to their ministerial roles, but the Nats are keeping them at arm's length. This is what happened with the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats, and it destroyed the Liberal Democrats were getting bigger, and it destroyed the Liberal Democrats going into coalition with another party. Obviously, that's something that has to happen in the Scottish Parliament. Despite the partnership, they have only been at the top table on April the 26th to review the progress of the coalition, and August the 6th they were invited to participate in consideration of a draft of the 2022-23 programme of government. Although the power sharing deal set out a minimum of 2 meetings per year, it is understood there was an expectation of them attending more. Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater being ousted as leader of the Scottish Greens under member rebellion plan. The First Minister is clearly unimpressed with her government partners and has instead stuck to the minimum since September last year. The First Minister is clearly unimpressed by her government partners and have instead stuck to the minimum since September last year. The Scottish Sun has reported, and this is in the Scottish Daily Express, has reported the Nat source saying the Greens were kept at distance due to their extremist economic views because they're communist, which include opposition to growth. Well, I don't think Nicola Sturgeon's done a great job in growth either, has she? Let's be honest. The SNP figures are reported to be worried about the effect that may have on floating voters. One Nat source told The Sun the Greens, who are in government despite winning just 1.2% of the constituency vote, were toxic. They added there are several cabinet members who want them as far away from the top table as possible. The Scottish Conservative MSP Liam Kerr described the situation as humiliating state of affairs for the Greens. He added, out of the 43 meetings discussing some of them important issues in our country, the Greens have only been invited to 2, one of which was discussing their own power sharing agreement. Perhaps it's surprising they were even invited to that. It's clear that in the eyes of Nicola Sturgeon, the most important role the Greens play is to support the SNP in their unwanted Indie Ref 2 push. If the Greens had a shred of credibility, they would be standing up to the SNP partners on their environmental record. Despite the snub, the Greens have backed the SNP plan to try and turn the 2024 general election into a de facto referendum. But even if it is a de facto referendum, are they going to declare a universal declaration of independence? What are they going to do? Are they going to hold say that right, we're doing this, but say Westminster turns around and says, well, okay, I don't even care that you've done that, we're still not giving you a referendum. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? If they've got no legal option, what are they going to do? So there has to be some conclusion on the fact that they're standing for a de facto referendum. Is the de facto referendum, if you win the majority of seats, that you're going to declare a unilateral declaration of independence? What is the outcome of your de facto referendum stance at the next general election? You've not made the outcome clear. So is it just, we're saying that this is a de facto referendum, and what? What's going to happen on the back of that? Not being elaborated on. Scottish Liberal Democrat, the illiberal, Liberal and Democratic Democrat MP Christine Jardine said it's pretty humiliating for the Greens that they scored 2 out of 43 meetings. This meant that the power share but this meant to be a power share, but it was looking more like a SNP power grab. So these are just basically puppets for the SNP. The Greens have said they will fight the next general election on a sole issue of breaking up the UK. They are happy to prop up the SNP, even if the SNP gives zero back. Mr Harvey was handed the position of Minister of Zero Carbon Buildings, Active Travel and Tenants' Rights in August last year, while Ms Slater became the Minister of the Green Skills, Curricular, Circular Economy and Biodiversity. Both are junior ministerial roles. The pair could face a fight for their future as co-leaders of the Scottish Greens. It emerged early this month that a motion submitted to the party's annual general meeting by grassroots party members could prohibit any active government ministers from holding a major party position. It comes amid concerns that some party voices are being muted on key issues controlled by the SNP government. The Greens have largely abandoned their environmental focus to concentrate on the breakup of the UK. Responding to the news, the Scottish Government said the Green Party co-leaders have attended Cabinet twice in recent months, exactly in line with the terms of Butte House Agreement. Both are members of the Cabinet Subcommittee on Climate Change, and Mr Harvey is a member of the Subcommittee for Legislation. They are consulted on Cabinet papers. This is the Daily Express again. So when is this? When was the last one? So that was the Daily Express on by Douglas Dickey, content editor, on the 28th of August 2022. And this is on by Richard Percival, a Scottish political commentator, on the 17th of August. So this was before. Patrick Harvey and Laura Slater faced being ousted as leaders of the Scottish Greens under member rebellion plan. The party co-leaders could be forced out of their roles under plans by party activists to distance their leaders from the Scottish Government. Patrick Harvey and Laura Slater could face being ousted as leaders of the Scottish Greens. A motion submitted to the party's annual general meeting, AGM, by grassroots party members could prohibit any active government minister from holding a major party position. The amendment comes amid concerns that some party voices are being muted on key issues controlled by the SNP-led government. Laura Slater, accused of pretending to be serious environment and waste incineration U-turn. The motion proposed an amendment into section 4.3 of the Scottish Greens constitution and states no major officer position can be held by an active government minister. When a major officer is appointed as a government minister, they will be required to vacate their major office post by the next general election. It continues, this model allows ministers to focus on their considerable work involved in running government departments. The separation of these roles also allows the party's major officers to openly disagree with the government where appropriate. This gives party members a greater voice on issues of concern, on policies that may be added to the excluded areas of the cooperation agreement, and allow party officers to better focus on their constitutional roles. The proposal for the motion makes clear it would emulate our highly successful sister paper in Germany, Alliance 90, the Greens, by separating party leadership position from ministerial offices. The Greens will hold an AGM on October the 13th, 2 days before the party's conference in Dundee. The motion is expected to be debated at the annual general meeting by many yet to, but may yet be revised. The Greens source told the Scottish Daily Express there was some concerns for members in policy areas such as education, housing, where the voices weren't being heard due to the SNP Greens cooperation agreement. But Brian Quinn, Scottish Green councillor in Clackmannanshire, told the National that the motion doesn't make sense. He added it makes sense that if you are the leadership figure in the party, you should also be a leadership. You should be in a leadership role in the government. We are in cooperation agreement. If you want to have ministers and then leaders criticising their ministers, then it isn't going to work. The motion coincides with the first anniversary of the signing of the Butte House Agreement on Thursday. While the agreement is not a formal condition between the two, the deal sees them working together on key issues including the climate emergency, economic recovery, child poverty and the natural environment and energy. Green MSPs also would support the Scottish Government on confidence votes as well as annual budgets if there is an appropriate funding for the shared policy programme. Party spokesman said all motions will be debated on by party members this October, where we are looking forward to welcoming back attendees in person as well as those participating online. Patrick Harvey and Laura Slater were handed ministerial roles in the Scottish Government at the end of August 2021. Mr Harvey became Minister of Zero Carbon Buildings, Active Travel, and Miss Slater became Tenants' Rights, and Lorna Slater, the Government Minister for Greens, Skills, Curriculum, Economy and Biodiversity. Great, they'll face criminal charges for blackmail, sold their vote to save Nasty Nick's job after Salmon's fiasco, a 94,000 PA job used of diesel, LIMO. Do they think they will give up their yearly bribe to agree with Sturgeon for a minute? To not agree, I would take it, not agree, to agree with Sturgeon for a minute. Why would the Greens allow Slater and Harvey to sign up to the SNP's Code of Silence is beyond me. No individual or political party can effectively be silenced. So, that's very interesting. So I wouldn't be voting for them either. We already know that Alex Salmond and the Alba Party are basically shills for the globalists as well. Although, I mean, from the SNP to Alba, okay, so we nippies are postmodernist Marxists and part of the gender queer mob, and Alex Salmond backs the TERFs, but that's not a big political issue for me. I'm not interested in that. I want to know how you're going to grow the economy, and none of these parties are actually going to grow the economy. All for Unity, having had a chat with All for Unity, I don't know if they're going to run in the next election. They've gone very quiet since the Scottish election. The Family Party is obviously still going. Richard's still going. I've been watching him and doing his podcast as well. Slightly conservative. I don't know if that's going to be a high growth party. A high growth in economic terms party. They're sort of traditional. I don't think they would be bad. They'd probably be up slightly. That's slightly in the polls for me. They would be better than some of the other parties that are already here. This is Alistair McKechnie. Sorry for Alistair if I just butchered that. I don't know if this is going to continue. I've tried to get Alistair on for a chat. Alistair McConaughey. And I don't know if this is going to be continued from that. Abolish Scottish Parliament is a one party and a one policy party, and I don't know if they're going to go. It did seem to garnish that many votes. It's 0.27 of the electorate. I don't think there's an appetite for the abolition of the Scottish Parliament, but I believe that they might still continue to continue. That might change over in the future, but I think what's required is a change of the political parties, the globalist political parties. So the Freedom Alliance, I've tried to get the Freedom Alliance on. I would like to speak to them. I think they're still growing and learning. I don't know if they are classical liberals. I don't know what their stance is on Europe. I don't know. There's a lot of I don't knows. But on the principle of the Freedom Alliance, I would certainly vote for them before I would vote for probably any one of these parties. Then the UK Reform Party, I'll probably vote for the UK Reform Party at the next general election. I think the general election, that this is the party I'll be voting for. Richard Tice. I won't be voting for any of these now. All just globalist shell parties, all pushing their woke agenda. I'm not interested in that. So I'll vote for probably Richard Tice's UK Reform Party. I think Richard's seems like a nice fellow. If they adopt a lot of the Brexit Party or contract, as David Clue's Unity Use Network pointed out, it's a contract, not a manifesto, which is better. I think I'll be voting for UK Reform at the next general election. UKIP as well. UKIP have got very strong immigration policies, and that would make a hell of a difference to what's happening just now. So it'll depend on whether or not they can facilitate people in my area. Now, UK Reform has said they're going to put candidates in the 632 constituencies. It's fat in every one of them, which is great, and that'll give you a definite chance to vote for somebody out with the globalist shill parties. So that's why I'll definitely vote for UK Reform. Whether or not UKIP can do the same is in the lap of the gods. Animal welfare, get 0.09. I think animal welfare is important, but that should be a pressure group in with some other political party in itself. Women's equality, they would have to define what women's equality is. I think it's almost getting like women's supremacy. Again, it's rules for thee but not for me, and we'll have to look about actual equality. It seems like it's not equality, it's special treatment that they want. And I don't believe in special treatment. That's what the Nazis did, had special treatment. The TUSC, I think, split from the Scottish Socialist Party. I don't know if they're a nationalist party. I don't know what their stance is on the EU. I spoke to Colin Fox just the other day. He said their party pulled the conversation we were going to have on the Guerilla TV channel, and I'll speak to the TUSC again, see if we can get them on for a chat. We will cover left-wing politics as well, but it's hard to get them on. Colin Fox said to me there, it's almost like the left-wing have got a purity standard. If you're not left-wing enough, then you're not spoken to. And that's because their ideas are weak. And if they didn't have weak ideas, they'd be able to come on and defend them. So we've got the communists who've killed 100 million people, British Communist Party, they might as well had the British Nazi Party, 0.04. Renew is a minor centre political party in the UK. It was set up in 2017, provides an alternative for moderate voters. So I don't know where Renew starts. I've tried to contact Renew and get them on. They've not come on board. There's Scotland's Future. I don't know where they are on the political spectrum. I've tried to get them to come on and have a chat, get the leader. Same with the Social Democrats. Social Democrats are actually, I think, anti-globalists just now, we call them, but still centre-left liberals, basically. So they would be opposite to what the Tony Blair and Gordon Brown and also Alex Salmond, who are all globalist adjacent or globalist leaning. These the Social Democratic Party weren't. Reclaim is a right-wing party. I think that's Colin Fox's party, which has been quite interesting. But I think that before the next election, Reclaim will merge into Reform. I think the Heritage Party should merge into Reform. I think David Clues is excellent, but he should move in. I don't know, I've tried to contact Vanguard as well, see if they will actually come on board, but they would not. So the party that I'm closest to is probably the Liberal Party, but again, unfortunately, having talked to, let me see, let's go on here. So having spoke to Kaid, that I had a really good chat with him, really nice fellow, and I would actually probably work with Kaid, but the difficulty, there's two things that sort of put me off, although I think he's a terrific guy, but it did put me off him, but put me off the Liberal Party. The first was how they treated the guy Jackson after the last election. If you're going to be a libertarian Liberal Party, you have to back free speech and not be kowtowed by the media, which protects the globalist agenda. So that was a big no-no, because obviously I'm a libertarian Liberal. And the second thing was that they also back the globalist agenda, and they want to be part of a free trade area. And that's a no-no for me as well. I don't want to be part of, and I want to empower the individual, not the state, and not transnational states that are not accountable to any government. So I'm a no for both of those, but I am certainly the closest to the Liberal Party. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to set up something different, or Kaid and I would have been together. And I think he's a good guy, and I would certainly vote for him had the situation's been slightly different. But I would only really back a Liberal Party that was also libertarian as well. So he's the closest guy, even though I would obviously vote for the Scottish Libertarian Party, which I obviously helped set up. Well, I did set it up, that's not true. I actually helped establish it. It was already set up many years when I was in Dubai, and I got the first person to stand. The first person to stand for the Scottish Libertarian Party was Mr. Universe, and he was the first person to stand, and they got 12 votes, and now they got nearly 5,000 votes. So the Scottish Libertarian Party is going up and up, and it'll be also dependent on what MPs are available in my area. But I think we need to set up a new political party, and it has to be anti-globalist and pro-growth, and against the agenda that's getting pushed, the Marxist agenda that's getting pushed for us just now, and it has to stand up against that. But I would work with a number of these people. I don't have an issue with purely people that are outside the top sort of 6 parties, the globalist shill parties, which every one of these are. And until you transfer your vote outside of these parties, until you get a party, that you have to look at the policies and find out who's going to protect the borders, because none of these parties will actually do this. So there's no point in complaining about immigration or globalist shill policies and then voting for a party that promotes the policy. You have to be a wee bit more tuned in than that. And there's plenty now. There's getting more and more choice there, and you have to be more discerning on what the policies are and what's going to be implemented. Like, I would never have voted for the Scottish National Party if I knew they were going to bring in racist, anti-white racist policies for school children, and call it anti-racism. So I would never have voted for them, and I would never vote for any of the other parties, including Sarwar. So the Labour Party are completely out. So the Libertarian Party, so they depend, will get my vote, and it depends on who's actually going to be standing. So I think that's me. I'm thinking I'm done. Good day, everybody. Thanks, Terry. How you doing, Terry? Terry's not there. Terry was on the old video. So I think that's me. I've done 2 lots today, and I'm absolutely shattered. So good night, my baby gorillas.